a little thing, a little offshoot. There's a fella here in North Carolina that has been fighting the property tax thing and claiming, that he should own his property and they shouldn't own it. So when he was into the head tax people down in the area where he lives, he asked them point blank, and he was on also a driver's license issue, and it was right across the hall. Well, the driver's license issue person happened to see him there and sort of nonchalantly walked over to the property tax person and stood by the door, and he asked the property tax, would you tell me what makes me liable to pay this property tax? And the woman sat there for a while and looked up and saw the other woman there, and she says, quote, what do you have in your wallet, end quote. And he looked at her. He had an idea because we talked this over. And he opened his wallet and he took out a Federal Reserve note and he says, do you mean this? And she just said, well. And the other woman from the driver's license thing says, I was going to tell him, but I didn't. It is the use of the Federal Reserve note, which is a liened note, already has a lien on it. And because of the use of your property and the use of the Federal Reserve note is what ties you into the tax, any tax. It's all international under the Crown Templar. Mm-hmm. And the lawyers are over here to see that they make sure it's turned over. Now, here's a definition of a turn, and it comes from the Merriam-Webster's 1996 dictionary. Anglo-French, a turner, to transfer allegiance of a tenant to another lord. From Old French, a turner, to turn, to arrange. From a to turner, to turn, semicolon, to agree to be a tenant of a new landlord or owner of the same property. So an attorney is making sure in feudal law to turn over and transfer the homage and service from one lord to another, which they're doing, and this is the act of fiduciaries, vassals, or tenants upon the alienation of the state. Right there. I mean, just those two definitions alone is why they're called attorneys and not lawyers. Not one of them is a lawyer anymore. And they're there to make sure that everything is turned over back to the Crown. Well, what is rightfully the Crown's, and that's why, it becomes more clear as you delve into this, and I know your listeners don't want to spend the 10 years that I have on just this matter, let alone the 30 years before that I was on the rest of the matters and research. It all forms into one nice big picture once you put all the puzzles together, all the little pieces of a puzzle. You start out with one and it's all blue, but then you have a big picture of this nice big seashore background, and you've got a blue piece of puzzle, and you're wondering what this blue has got to do with the total picture. But now when you see the total picture and you got that blue piece in your hand and you finish it by putting it in the center, you know what the picture looks like.
Now, do all lawyers, or attorneys as they're called nowadays, do all of them know this?
No. They're only taught what the law teacher tells them, the professor. All the professors would know this, all the Supreme Court justices, and certain ones of the appellate court judges would know. They have to know this.
All right, then those attorneys, whatever, that make the jump eventually to be judges, does somebody pull them off to the side and initiate them?
Yeah, they have a special meeting twice a year for all new judges coming in, and they're clued in to some of the stuff. It's sort of like, the Masonic people where they have 33 belts or 33 levels.
Degrees, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And those judges those attorneys that can't make it on the outside as an attorney become judges, and they have to be clued in. And they come in, I would say, probably the 15th level. They still don't know the whole story.
Okay.
So some of the judges, they're just like the Americans. They've been duped, They only been taught what they're told. The law professors, like I had mentioned, this law professor Robinson, like he said to the friend of mine who went and got the book for me, when he had the conversation, he says, we only teach them what we're told to teach them.
Yeah.
The professor said this. The professor is told what to teach them and what not to teach them. That's why the majority of lawyers come out and have no idea and concept of what a lot of researchers and the average man that has done some research as to what constitutional law and everything else is.
If I could just ask you a question regarding a little review here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, if I go into court on a murder charge,
right,
by what law am I tried?
When they bring that in, that's usually in a state case. They come into, all right, they pattern it after a common law, but you're actually in a maritime court.
Okay, because I thought you said capital offenses were tried by, and this is why I'm asking you, capital offenses are tried by what law?
By common law.
Okay.
In other words, rape, robbery, murder, assault and battery, that's common law. But it is this is the tricky part. You got a man in there and you got a court. Now, court becomes the prosecutor, the defendant, and the judge. That's a court.
Okay.
Okay. Now, that court, under constitutional law, sits as an admiralty court, under admiralty jurisdiction, but it can also hear other offenses, common law crimes. So now, when the prosecutor terms it and brings in an indictment or a complaint, the judge looks at the complaint, he knows basically what the subject matter is, he knows it's common law, and he sits as a common law judge.
All right. Now, for something as menial, let's just say in comparison, I want to fight a parking ticket.
Right.
Now, what do I find myself in?
A parking ticket is
or speeding,
All right. It's a maritime crime. It is not a common law crime. It's a statutory law, and all statutory law comes under maritime jurisdiction.
Okay.
It's that simple.
Now, we've been hearing a lot about people who are trying to use the Constitution in their own self-defense for whatever case it may be. And
well, they can't use the Constitution as written simply because it was destroyed in 1791, and all states or territories of the United States now. There's no really separation of states. It's only in name only, and in certain instances to keep the people ignorant that, the states are separate from the United States. No, not when you look at all of the motor vehicle laws. Now take this, 1966, and you'll go into the Highway Safety Traffic Safety Act in 1966, and that's where all the states were joined into the one territory, and they get money. And the reason why you got to find this, you got to go back to the Book of States of 1937, 1938. There's 2 volumes in the Book of States, and it will show you how all the states got together with the United States and were bought under the umbrella of the United States, no matter what the laws might be, whether it be driver's license, whether it be boating license, whether it be you name it, it's all territorial, and it all comes under the auspices of the United States.
Well, here's a loaded question for you. Since I know you've got probably, let's see, you said you had 16 pages once upon a time, and you only got through about 4. I'm going to take it that you have some bunch of pages left, and you will come back for a third segment, won't you?
Oh, yeah, I'll come back. There are, if people record your show,
they will.
The words that they have to listen to look up is attorney, esquire, rule as a noun, regulation as a noun, code as a noun, curtain, court. Go and look in the court under the Webster's 1828 and the Newberry House Dictionary 1999. Templar, all 1828 dictionary now.
Okay.
Webster's Templar, temple, capital. If you think capital, you know what the capital word capital means. So you got a big thing coming.
Okay.
In, INN, inner, crown, colony, state, estate, patent in the adjective, patent in the verb. Lawful, legal, status quo, status in quo, and that's what the definition is that the people should look up in those dictionaries.
I'm going to take a look around the library, see if I can find it. We've been talking with the Informer. Man, thank you very much. People can find out about you on againstthegrainpress.com, and we'll be looking forward to hearing you for a third time.
Okay.
All right, God bless you, and thank you.
Thank you.
You made your choice.